Quick change there. George Will is off today, but we're joined by Donna Brazile on the Roundtable, Matthew Dowd, Maggie Haberman of Politico, and two former party chairs, former Vermont Governor Howard Dean for the Democrats, former Governor of Mississippi Haley Barbour for the Republicans. Welcome to all of you. And Matthew Dowd, let me begin with you and just setting the stage of where the race is right now. We see President Obama ahead by about 5 points nationally, right now ahead in all of the battleground states. What happened in September?
Well, I think, this race, if it's a 5-point race, which it roughly is, despite of all of the Republicans' accusations that the polling is wrong.
Not from Chris Christie, to his credit.
Well, no, and to his credit, he basically accepted reality, which is what you have to do before you can change reality. And I think that's what the Romney problem is when you look at this, the national number is 5 or 6, which means all the target states are going to be somewhere around that national number. All of those states, Ohio, Virginia, Florida, are going to all flow with this. What I think what happened to the Romney campaign, and it's almost, I think, political malpractice, is that for the summer and a big part of the convention time, they left the playing field totally to Barack Obama and the Obama campaign. They allowed them to outspend them in the summer. They allowed them to, during the conventions, to outspend them, and basically set the tone for the final 60 days of this campaign, which put them behind after the conventions. I don't think the Romney folks expected to be behind, and now they're behind, and the prism of which voters view this is negative for Mitt Romney.
And Governor Barbour, something else happened. I want to put up a chart right here that shows what's happened to the polls. It comes from Nate Silver of the New York Times after that 47% comment right here. You see it right there. Look at how it opens up in that last week and a half. That was damaging.
Well, it may well end up being damaging, but the biggest thing that's damaging Mitt Romney here is this campaign is all about process. It's about polling. It's about campaign management. It's about everything but the issues. It's about everything but Obama's policies and the failures of those policies.
So how does he turn that around?
Well, hopefully he'll just stay totally focused on the fact that for most Americans, you can't tell the difference between the recession and the recovery. In fact, Census Department data came out this last month. The average American family lost $2,500 of income during the Obama recovery. They only lost $1,500 worth of income during the recession. No wonder they don't think that the recession's over.
Donna, that is kind of astonishing. The National Journal put it as the President Obama defying gravity right now. You see unemployment above 8%, income's going down, yet the president leading by 5 points.
Well, I was looking at some of the recent polls, and 42% of the country believe that the country is in better shape. They believe that the next year will be better. So despite all of the doom and gloom and the cold towel and the wet water that the Republicans continue to throw over the modest but slow economic recovery, most Americans are feeling a little bit better. It's not good enough to go home and write out the next check to the Obama campaign, but it's good enough for the Obama campaign to believe that they have just a slight win at their back.
But and one thing that's working for the Maggie Haberman is it does seem that voters have accepted kind of a mediocre economy for now.
That's right. There is this new normal feeling, right? This is where we are. And in that paradigm, the president is doing better. I mean, the right track, wrong track is still underwater, but it has improved for the president. And so people feel their lives are not great. Mitt Romney is also not offering an alternative. And I think that's the problem. I think you are not hearing enough forward-looking presentation from
Maggie Haberman mentions this right track, wrong track, Governor Dean. So one of the most surprising things to me, you've seen coming into this year, close to 70% of the public thought we were going in the wrong direction. Now it's coming down below 60% in some polls. And I guess it leads to a question, do people really think things are getting better, or are they adjusting their views of where the country is to conform with their vote?
I disagree with Maggie. I don't think this is the new normal at all, and I don't think we ought to accept this as the new normal. If you look at Barack Obama's accomplishments, they're pretty extraordinary, really. I mean, he took over when this economy was in free fall. It was the worst economic collapse since the Great Depression, and Mitt Romney's arguing we should go back to the same policies we had before. Obama gets credit for having delivered stopping the bleeding and starting to get better. We just had a revising of the new jobs created, over 400,000 additional jobs that didn't get picked up in previous statistics. We are doing better. The American people know it. But the real reason that Mitt Romney probably isn't going to win this election, no matter how well he does, and I do think he'll do well, is when you ask the question, does this candidate care about people like me, there's nearly a 40-point gap. You can't overcome it. It's why Reagan beat Carter, because Carter couldn't connect. Mitt Romney cannot connect, and that's why the 47% confidence killed him.
Let me ask Governor Barbour about that right now. That is one of the stubborn facts of the polling in this election so far, is that Governor Romney's personal favorability simply hasn't moved that much.
Well, I think that's irrefutable. But that's another reason why this election needs to be not a popularity contest of who's the best on television, who's going to be a movie star. This is about what are we going to do for the future of our
give up
country.
trying to fix that
If you
problem.
I don't think Ronald Reagan won because he was a happier person. Ronald Reagan won because the country was in bad shape. He offered policies to get us out of that, and they worked. You compare the recovery under Obama. This year, the economy is improving 1.6%. Last year, 1.8%. The year before, 2.4%. That's the best he's done. After the recession, when Reagan was president, the first year, 4.5% economic growth. The second year, 7.5% economic growth. The idea that we can't have a growing economy is something that is not being talked about enough anywhere except at the dining room table.
The interesting thing to me about the race is, which I think the natural equilibrium of this race is about a 2-point race. And if Mitt
Both
Romney
campaigns pretty much agree with that.
and if Mitt Romney has a good 4 or 5 days, these 5 or 6 points leads will dwindle down to about a 2-point race. It's still an advantage for Barack Obama, but a 2-point race. At that point in time, that's when all of the environmental factors, the unemployment rate being above 8%, the wrong track number being what it is, and people's view of their income all begin to take place in us. But the biggest change that's happened in this is Mitt Romney wanted this to be a referendum election. And the problem is it became a referendum. Not on Barack Obama, it became a referendum on him. And at some point, he has to fix that really quick.
And I think the time is running out. You know, you get 3 chances, and of course, his VP pick, and that's turned out not to be so good. And we'll get more into that. The convention speech, and everyone knows that that really wasn't a speech that really gave us a better idea about Mitt Romney. And the third opportunity is to come in debates. But I want to say something about the 1980s, because the Republicans constantly go back to 1980 as if that's some guidepost for the future. This is a different recession. We know that this was a recession that caused the collapse of the housing market, the financial sector, and therefore it's going to take us much longer, much slower. The Republicans have not offered the country anything in terms of where they want to take the country, how they will grow the economy, other than going back to the same trickle-down policies that caused the mess in the first place.